It's the end of the weekend, but I still wanna turn up. Yeah, I still wanna turn up. All I want is to go again, but you ain't picking your phone up. Why you messing my head up? Any night, any day, let me take you away. All I need is just saying yeah, 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 yeah. Better nights, better days, when you're here with me, babe. Cause you're all that I crave, so I wonder, where are you? Where are you? Don't hide away from me when I need you most. We got love guaranteed, and I have to know, say, where are you? Don't be so hard to reach, just pick up your phone. Tell me where you'll be, cause I gotta know. Let me know when you're ready, cause I made reservations. Too many invitations, and the last night was heavy. I need communication. Tell me where's your location. Used to talk 24/7, every other second, just to make sure we were up to date. Now it's closer to 11, and I ain't hearing nothing. I just need to know that you're okay. Where are you? Baby, don't hide away from me when I need you most. We got love guaranteed, and I have to know, say, where are you? Hey, don't be so hard to reach, just pick up your phone. Tell me where you'll be, cause I gotta know. Any night, any day, let me take you away. All I need is you saying yeah, yeah, yeah. Better nights, better days, when you're here with me, babe. Cause you're all I crave, so I wonder, where are you? Baby, don't hide away from me when I need you most. We got love guaranteed, and I have to know, say, don't be so hard to reach, just pick up your phone. Tell me where you'll be, cause I gotta know. Time's been moving slowly, so we already in too deep. Can't get no sleep on each other, heavy teasing all day. And when the sun sets, you asking me to come through, kick it with you. Night turn into morning dew, then you let's face it, baby, you know all the places. My place is your place, my place, your place, my place. Just face it, no one knows my places like you do. Your places like I do.
Hey family, make sure you join us on the new and improved AfricanDiasporaNews.org. Now it is our uncensored and raw truth website. We have to make sure to have our own website because on social media platforms, they do have rules, and at any time they could change a rule and shut a whole genre down. Now, that would not happen to us because on AfricanDiasporaNews.org, we can speak the truth. We don't have to hold back. So make sure you join our website today. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, make sure we sound pretty good. Here, I'm gonna check my sound here because I know kind of like when I'm streaming, versus what y'all will see on the screen, it may be a few seconds behind of what I'm looking at in real time. So give me a second. All right, I sound good. Thank the Lord. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So today, we here on the stream, midday. We will have our brother, Marcel. I told him to get on, if he can get on here in a few minutes. I can just talk with y'all a little bit before he shows up. There's a lot going on. I know since we last did a little quick mobile stream, I was just kind of hanging out outside when I did that. More kids that have died. I got some, I think it was reaching Brother Mark. Shout out to Brother Mark. I'll be probably going on Newsroom Africa to talk about some of this stuff that's going on in America. You remember the news channel out of South Africa. So, I'm a firm believer. I prefer to be on African TV anyway, just to be honest with you. I've never had a desire to be on American TV because of what I talk about. I mean, why in the hell would I go on American TV? If it's not black platforms here or, the African continent or the Caribbean or whatever, I'm good. I don't need to be on CNN or none of that. Never had desire to be in these places. But also, we revamped, as you saw, our website, AfricanDiasporaNews.org. I definitely want to appreciate everyone that has, been a member of the website and seen that transition. I took everything that you guys was talking about and applying that. Also, want to let you know, as of right now, the app, the current app we have is down. And that's the reason why it's not working. We're getting a new app to coincide with the new website. So just to let y'all know that, and I'll let y'all know when the new app will be available. And the reason why I'm focusing, I had to definitely invest some funds. So when you guys are joining us, donating, those funds go to things like that because we have to have something where we can have our voice spoken. Because let me tell you something, this is just a reality. They say the Republicans get in office, there's Section 230 on the copyright protection and all of that. Well, Section 230 insulates social media companies from being sued for what people are saying, right? If they get rid of that ability, then social media companies can come back tomorrow and say, you know what? No more political content, no more of that news. Look, you can do entertainment, you can do cooking shows, you can do cat videos, you can do all that, but we don't want no politics, no more on this. Where would you go then at that point? Where would you go? Because let's call it what it is. We're doing all this, saying a lot of things on social media, which do get allowed to a lot of people, yes. But if they take that away, and they can, like this, a lot of you haven't even diversified your content. Like me, I do many things. I get involved in the entertainment world. I talk about that. As of the weekend of Juneteenth, our Intercontinental Food Review channel, we going full throttle on that. So we're doing food reviews. That's something I probably want to do anyway because I like to talk about multiple things. I don't like talking about the same thing. Sure, we got a podcast, but podcasting offers many platforms outside of this one. I'm just saying you need to have your own website. We featuring movies on our website as well, whether they coming out of Africa or independent movies here. And any filmmakers that would like to try to get their stuff on our website, reach out. We're doing movies. We have so many ideas that we're going to do for the website because that's the place that I can speak without holding my tongue. I posted a few videos there. I will be posting some more I got to work on today. So make sure that you join AfricanDiasporaNews.org. That's our uncensored content. We don't have to hold back there. Here, I got to censor what I say. I got to shorten what I say. And it's their platform. You can't get mad about it. It's theirs. We talking about racism, white supremacy, where it's owned by, ain't owned by us. So you got to follow their rules. So make sure, check us out. Now, also, another thing that I have changed up, this is across the board, it's something we was going to go to anyway. Live streams, premieres, etc. will be for our members. That is a perk for our members, and we're just doing that across the board. And we just making sure that's fair because people have been supporting, but they have to get exclusivity to certain things. So that's one of the things, that exclusivity to be a member. I also posted for members. I seen somebody join that Spirit of Africa level. That's going away June 1. I already kind of put that out there. So the next level up, I think, is Lion of Africa. It's better to join that one because Spirit of Africa is going away. Letting you know that June 1 on this particular channel. So let me check on my brother. It's back there. Let me see here where my brother at. Let me see here. Just give me a quick second. Let me look on this other screen. Okay, Marcel is here. Okay, let me get my brother up on the screen. Give me 2 seconds. Let's see here. What we got?
Documented immigrants, because there's documented immigrants like myself, and then there's undocumented immigrants.
Give me a second, brother. Hold on.
They never do the jobs that Black Americans are doing or want to do.
That is not true. Hold on.
Can I say something?
Center, I'm sorry.
All right, Marcel, do you hear me?
Yep, I hear you. How are you?
Hold on, give me a quick second. You say you hear me, correct?
Yep.
All right, awesome. Just give me a second. Let me just switch something up here. I'm just kind of doing this stuff, let's say on the fly. But I appreciate you joining me, man.
I appreciate you having me, because I know you have a lineup and program already, so I appreciate you being able to help me out with this. We're in the final stretch, and I don't have any inside information, but people that do, they're telling me that the incumbent against whom I'm running is worried about this one. And I am seeing him put up billboards, and I've never seen him do that before. So from my observation, it seems like he is worried. So that means I need to keep giving him reasons to be worried.
Yes, sir. He definitely, need to be worried. So Marcel, let's talk about that. James Clyburn came down here to Texas, and he was campaigning in a state that he's not even running in. He was basically just blowing you off, like he wasn't even worried about you. How do you feel about him coming down here to Texas instead of even trying to give you a debate?
I'm not surprised. I mean, I have a commercial out there called "Where is James Clyburn?" and I have it on my Twitter page. It's on a page that a supporter did for me, and I talk about how his district is the 6th poorest in the United States of America out of 435 districts total. Okay, and yet when he went to file for his re-election, he went to file to run again. He said that he wasn't planning to campaign in South Carolina. He said he was going to be in North Carolina, Georgia, Florida, New York, campaigning in other places. I wasn't surprised to hear that. He has never cared about the needs of South Carolinians. Because while I was reading that, I was thinking, what about the needs of people here in South Carolina? Even if you are sure you have this race in the bag, should you not be going to speak to people in your district, hearing their concerns? But he's not concerned about us. Another thing I find interesting, has he been to Buffalo, New York? Has he visited with the families of those Black people, our brothers and sisters that were gunned down just for the crime of grocery shopping when Black? I haven't seen any story relating that matter. As a matter of fact, reading his Twitter page, he didn't post anything about it until the next day. Okay, that night it happened. I already made several tweets about it. He was sitting there receiving honorary doctorates and throwing up his little fraternity signs, I guess, with some of his frat brothers. He did not say anything about the massacre in Buffalo. Then when he finally did address it, you have to compare and contrast the way he spoke about what happened in Buffalo to the way he spoke about what happened in Atlanta, Georgia, when the Asian Americans were massacred. He specified it was anti-Asian hate. He said, stop Asian hate. And then he introduced legislation to protect Asian Americans. For us, he did not specify it was anti-black hate. He has not put forth any legislation for an anti-black hate crime bill. Benjamin Crump, for whatever people may think about him, is the one who's been pushing it. And I don't think he has said one word about it since then, nor has he visited the families. So his concern for his constituents and for his people has always been pretty much non-existent. And he's just proven my point for me.
Yeah, sometimes the books write themselves for some people, and Clyburn seems to be one of them. So early voting is going on right now, correct?
It starts May 31st. This
Okay,
is
May
the
31st,
first
so 2
time
days.
in modern history that South Carolina has done early voting. So it starts May 31st. So I've been drilling into people June 14th, June 14th, June 14th. Now I have to start letting people know about me before any of them go to the polls May 31st. Because some may vote for him just because of not knowing who I am. And then they may find out about me and say, you know what? Unlike Clyburn, who's been there for 30 years, and we are one of the poorest districts in the United States of America, the black people in his district have lost pretty much all their land, as they have throughout most of America, have the shortest lives, as we have throughout most of America. The difference is America's not majority black. His district is, and he's done not one piece of legislation specifically for us. They may look at me and say, this guy actually has a plan for us, but they may vote for Clyburn just out of familiarity and then not be able to go back and change their minds. I have to do all in my power to make sure that does not happen. So that's why I reached out to you, Tariq, Jason Black, all the real black media, as I call y'all, to let people know that if they can make any donations to my campaign, it will be helpful. If any time I needed it, it's now to get a massive push in my district about me.
Well, what we did make sure to do before it started in the pinned comment on the chat right now, we do have his link, and you can go and donate whatever, this brother putting in work, and after we'll make sure to put it in the pinned comment at the bottom where anybody can comment and actually get, to his donor box link. And that's very, very important because it costs money to do billboards. It costs, definitely, trust me, it costs money to do billboards. It costs money to canvas. I mean, gas is high. You got to hire people. I mean, it costs money. It is not free to do any of this. And I know that people, if everybody can just even, donate the brother $100, I'm going to go for broke. If everybody get a brother $100, you got about 800 some odd people watching. What if all 800 people went donate $100 to this brother? He can definitely, get out there and do something with that money. You know what I'm saying? But let me ask you another question here, brother. The things are changing so fast in this country. I don't know if you know this, but the Supreme Court just made a ruling about people who are wrongfully convicted. So now, if you're wrongfully convicted because your lawyer was just janky, it worked for the state, now the Supreme Court rules 6-3 that if you're wrongfully convicted, you can't go to the federal courts anymore to get that conviction overturned, okay? And the reason why they say this, our black Supreme Court justice said in his thing that because it's states' rights. So basically, if black people get wrongfully incarcerated, they're going to have to sit there or be executed. That's just came down the pipe. What do you think about that, Marcel?
I am not surprised. This is the same nation where the Dred Scott decision was made. When they say that Black Americans were not American citizens, even though when the Dred Scott decision was made, there were Black Americans who were American citizens voting in several states at that time, continued to vote, continued to pay taxes. They said that Black people who were enslaved were more like in the property, and yet Dred Scott, who was formerly enslaved, had challenged the Supreme, who had brought his case to the Supreme Court. If he was just a piece of property, how could he bring a case to the Supreme Court? That's not. That's like saying Rake could bring a case to a Supreme Court. So this country has always done asinine things in the name of anti-blackness. Because if you look at the data, who is the most likely to be wrongfully arrested and wrongfully convicted? It is Black men. 62% of the people wrongfully arrested are Black men. When you add Black women, it is 70%. So who is this ruling going to hurt the most? Us. Now, we have this segregationist in the White House who I absolutely hate. The father of mass incarceration. The person who worked with anti-Black bigoted scum who's in hell, like Strom Thurmond, who before the 1994 crime bill was passing bills to lock Black people up, while at the same time, white people who were committing the same offenses, he passed bills to make sure that nothing happened to them. So there's a disparity between rock cocaine and powder cocaine. He targeted the one that was more used by poor Black people and pretty much did nothing with the one that was used by white people. So I'm not surprised he's done nothing about the Supreme Court. But if y'all remember, when the segregationist was first running for office, he said that he was going to look into expanding the Supreme Court. I don't know what there is for him to look into. The Supreme Court can be expanded. The Supreme Court has not always been 9 seats. It's been less than 9 seats. It's been as many as 13 seats, okay? If you expand the Supreme Court, that takes away the incentive for either party to want to try to pack the court and pretty much force their ideologies on the American people. It helps make the court more reflective, more fair, and more balanced. The segregationist in chief would act if the Supreme Court was doing something that was hurting fellow segregationists. But since it's not hurting fellow segregationists, and it's more likely going to hurt Black people, which is right up his Ku Klux Klan alley, he could care less.
Well, this is my opinion about not only the Supreme Court, but any kind of federal judges. I believe to keep things fair and keep judges even with modern times, their appointments should only last 10 years. As long as the person appointed. A 1 10-year appointment. That's it. Even the Supreme Court, a 1 10-year appointment. That way, you're going to constantly, even if you got a bad judge, at least you're going to deal with him or her for 10 years and they done, versus you got a lifetime with this person. And they can wreak havoc all over the country. Now, because of what we just talked about, if you was in Congress right now, Representative Marcel Dixon heard that from the Supreme Court, what would you do about it?
I would immediately use my bully pulpit, my national platform, and excuse me, I have some work being done in my house. I'm going to take the blur off because it seems like it's causing some connectivity issues. If I was in Congress right now, the first thing I would do is write legislation giving anyone wrongfully convicted the right to go before the court. And when it was challenged on the grounds of the Supreme Court, challenge the Supreme Court. That is what you do. There are many things which the Supreme Court has ruled for or ruled against, and people kept bringing it back until the ruling was made right. But I will also use my platform to put pressure on the so-called president, on this so-called Congress, to expand the seats of the Supreme Court. So that way we cannot just pack it and stack it with people who could force their ideologies on the American public. But right now, you got people in Congress, like the so-called president, who is sitting there acting like he's helpless to do anything about it. You are the president. Last time I checked, that comes with authority. People in Congress, you're in Congress. Last time I checked, that comes with some authority and some empower. So that is what I will do. I will be pushing legislatively and just on my platform nationally for the Supreme Court to be expanded. So we will not have this ideological deadlock that we have now.
Yeah, and another thing that prevents, which people need to talk about is in the Senate, this filibuster. And the filibuster came in to actually stop legislation to help black people, if you just want to know the history of that. Why is it that what would you do about pushing to get rid of filibuster? Because filibuster is not even a law. It's not a law. It's just a rule. They can get rid of it when they want to. Because let me tell you something. When they brought up that Asian hate crime bill, Mitch McConnell didn't filibuster. He didn't filibuster at all. He said, let's let it vote. And he voted. But see, Mitch McConnell's wife is Chinese, so I don't think he would be filibustering something that's going to benefit his wife.
Exactly. The filibuster was used, the person who used the filibuster the longest was Strom Thurmond, a notorious anti-black bigot who supposedly saw the error of his ways and worked for justice, according to Joe Crow's eulogy of him. Yet I don't remember Strom Thurmond pushing for reparations. So if he was not pushing for this country to repair the damage they had done to black Americans, freedmen, descendants of American slaves, then he did not make amends for his former anti-black ways. He used the filibuster the longest to slow down civil rights legislation for black Americans. Now, what I'm about to say is going to be a little controversial. I see some good in the filibuster as well, because when the Democrats were trying to pass some legislation recently that to me would have given rights of American citizens to illegal immigrants, the filibuster was used by some Republicans, including some like Manchin and Sinema, to stop that legislation from passing. So it definitely does have its benefits when it comes to stopping bad legislation. When it comes to stopping good legislation, it becomes problematic. But I will say this. The same way where they try to guilt black Americans into voting instead of giving us a reason to vote, if the Democrats, and I call them Democrats because you're not running as a Democrat. A Democrat will run as a person who's going to be loyal to their most loyal constituents, who are black Americans, who vote for them 95%, which is unheard of in any other group. If they were running on an agenda for black Americans, especially freedmen or descendant of American slaves, they will actually see their numbers increase in the House of Representatives and in the Senate. So therefore, even with the filibuster, even with the majority numbers that they need right now, which can be lowered, because they could lower the majority to a simple majority. Right now, they need over 60 votes. They could easily lower it to just over 50 votes. They will immediately see their numbers increase. But because they are so anti-black, they refuse to do things for black Americans who are actual citizens. Instead, they are putting it all on the line for people who are not citizens, such as people in Ukraine, some who are literal Nazis. But of course, being that our person in the White House is a segregationist, of course, he will love a good old Nazi. They are trying to do legislation for illegal immigrants. So it's their fault that their legislation keeps on failing because one, is piss poor legislation, two, it's not for us, and three, the people whom they're trying to do legislation for cannot vote. The people who can vote and are voting for them, they are doing nothing for those individuals. And those individuals look like you and I.
Well, I'm going to push back just a little bit about the filibuster. This is my thing. In Congress, there's no filibuster. You vote, and whatever vote, it passes, right? The Senate, if you look at it historically, the Senate has been used to give white people power that they wouldn't have based on the change of demographics in this country. The Senate actually keeps white people more in power than the House of Representatives if you research it. This is why I'm totally against the way they do things. I think it should be not like, say, electoral college. I don't agree with the electoral college at all.
I don't.
I don't agree with how they do the Senate. I think things need to be reflective of America. and what it actually looked like. So that's why I say, listen, the filibuster needs to go. Yes, it can stop legislation, but how is it that we don't have it in the House, but we got it in the Senate? Because, even if the president signs something, if 2/3 of Congress vote against it, then it still will pass. And that's happened before in history.
Yes. So I would say this. I would say that's where the Supreme Court comes in as well. Because when some of the provisions of the Voting Rights Act was struck down, and that happened during the Obama administration, where he actually had an opportunity to be more aggressive with the Supreme Court. But of course, because black people were more likely to suffer, he didn't care. He only went into action when white people, illegal immigrants, or LGBTQ people were in danger. He allowed the Supreme Court to strike down certain provisions of the Voting Rights Act. Now, I know the Democrats like to sit there and pretend like it's all about voting. It's all about voting. It makes it seem like black people just vote for some type of emotional fulfillment. They don't ever give us anything for which to vote. However, there is one aspect of the Voting Rights Act which I strongly support, and that was the provision against gerrymandering. Had that provision still been enacted the way it should have been, because it never quite was, we would have a lot more majority black districts in the United States of America. That's one thing right there. So we would have a lot more representation. Now, that doesn't always necessarily equate with leadership. And as far as the Senate goes, it absolutely needs to be revisited. Now, I will say again, though, Phil, I do sometimes feel there is some wisdom in allowing some mechanism where the quote-unquote majority just can't steamroll their way over the minority, because sometimes our people, are going to be the people who might be most harshly impacted by something that the majority wants to do, and we will need a way to stop it. That's why I usually pause at wanting to get rid of certain mechanisms like the filibuster, because it can sometimes be used to our benefit. Because let's say I get the Congress, which I am, and I'm going to be in the House, but let's say I ever go for the Senate, and they're trying to do something crazy, like give illegals all the benefits, which they're already doing that, but something more than what they're giving them. If I have a way to stop it, and it's the filibuster, I am going to use it, because there has to be a way to keep our people safe when they are all getting on cold against us.
Yeah, I hear you, but I just like you mentioned the voting rights bill, right? Which there's only two provisions in that bill that I like, that I can say that's good. The creation of a nonpartisan council to do the maps, because the party, no matter if it's Democrat or Republican, they shouldn't be doing the maps.
That's right.
They should not be doing the maps at all. That's actually where it starts at. That's corruption
picking your own voters. That's picking your own voters. You say, okay, I want these people here. Voters should pick you, not pick your own voters with the maps.
Right. So that independent council part, the part about automatic voter registration, the part about a federal holiday for if people would like to vote, because voting is a right and it's a choice, right? I'm cool with that. But some of that other stuff they were doing, like I said, now were they gonna redo the provision of the Voting Rights Act where they had to do no, they wouldn't have to do it if they had an independent council doing the maps and not letting the states do it.
I'm not sure how that will work, because right now it's in limbo, and there's a lot of pull back and forth about it, and they're calling it the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. I'm gonna keep my opinion to myself about former Congressman John Lewis.
Yeah. Some people, like I said, the brother not here no more. So let's just leave it where it's at.
I'm gonna leave that one alone. I'm just gonna say
keep
this
it on 2022.
I'm gonna just say this though. It's emblematic of stop trying to just guilt black people into voting and give black people something for which to vote. Okay? You will see a lot of these issues solved right here and now.
Well, I said on my podcast recently, why don't we guilt black people and shame black people into supporting black-owned businesses? Like, for instance, if you see a black person at a store somewhere or somewhere out, and they say, why you bought that? They had a black business right down the street. Or even if a black business is selling things in Target, Walmart, and say, no, put that ice cream down. Go get the black on ice cream right here. This all what we buy is over here. This is the ice cream we buy. This is the product we buy. Why don't we? That's it. We need to start shaming each other in that way. We quick to shame each other about things that don't even matter to me sometimes.
We need to shame each other about being off code. Okay? We need to shame each other for being off code. We need to ostracize anyone among us who is off code. The same way I feel we should treat a pedophile, a murderer, a rapist, we should treat a person who is off code and is determined to stay off code that same way. And I'm going to be controversial with this one here. It's not controversial for me, but it might be controversial with some of your viewers. We need to shame each other about, okay, have sex with whomever you want to have sex with. But we need to shame each other about marrying out. When you marry out and you decide to have a family, that is building. Have sex with whom you want, but build with each other. We need to shame each other about that. We need to shame each other for not having smoke for these people in power. I have people come to me all the time saying they want to vet me. They want to make sure I'm authentic. They want to make sure I'm not going to switch up on them. I support that. That's why I'm always easy to find on Twitter. That's why I am always coming on the real black media, as I call it. I want people to vet me, but it should not stop with me, because as much as I am putting in to try to win this race, as much as people are investing in me to win this, I'm not in power right now. You can start with me, but don't stop with me. Bring that same smoke to Clyburn, Maxine Waters, Hakeem Jeffries, Antonio Delgadillo, Cory Booker. I can't remember all their names. Ihan Omar, Mondale Jones, Burgess Owens, Sheila Jackson. Bring the smoke to these black officials in office right now. Yes, bring it to the white ones too. But for the black people who are in the congressional slack caucus who say that they are supposed to represent us and they don't, we have allowed them to be okay selling us out. We have allowed them to get comfortable vouching for every other group except us. On the Hispanic Caucus webpage, they say they're trying to better the quality of life for Hispanics and Latinos, which is not a race, it's an ethnicity, but we know they really mean the white-looking Hispanics and the white-looking Latinos. On the Asian American Pacific Islander Caucus, they specify Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders. On the Bureau for Indian Affairs, they specify Native Americans. When you get to the Congressional Slack Caucus page, they say Black Americans and people of color. We have allowed them to do that. Okay? Every politician should have a fear of displeasing their constituents. I'm not saying violent, which, by the way, I am not a nonviolent person. I'm never going to be nonviolent. I will be nonviolent after America goes first. So I'm not a nonviolent person. I believe in us using violence when it's necessary. However, I'm not advocating for violence, however. If things be done peacefully, then let it be done peacefully. But these politicians should have a fear of displeasing us. We have it where they have a fear of displeasing white Americans. They have a fear of displeasing Asian Americans, Pacific Islanders, Hispanics, LGBTQ, trans people, and most of those groups don't even make up as large of a percentage of the population as we as Black Americans do, okay? And yet they are afraid of displeasing those groups. When they go in front of those groups, they come with policies to show those groups what they're doing for them. We are the only group with whom they feel comfortable coming to us saying, I ain't doing nothing for you, but if you don't vote for me, you ain't Black either. We've allowed that. That needs to change.
Well, Marcel, speaking of that, recently Stacey Abrams was on, of course, and like always, they go to comedians to talk to instead of coming to places like, talking to people like us here. Now, Stacey Abrams went over there and she was asked by those brothers, I think Chico Bean, why is it they don't specifically talk about what they're going to do for Black people? And if you say you saw the whole clip, right?
I didn't see the whole clip. Oh, yeah, I saw that clip. I didn't see the whole segment.
Okay. So so just to recap, people didn't see it because we even did a podcast on it. Stacey Abrams said that basically we only 12% of the population. You can't win elections just with black people, and if you just mention black people, you're gonna make some people, basically upset and bothered. This what she said. But Asians are only 6% of the population, and they were talking about Asian.
Exactly.
LGBT is about 2 to 3% of the population, and you say LGBT all day long, what you want to do for them. But the people that is higher in population, don't talk about them whatsoever, right? But yet you want to spend $30 million to get black voters to vote in the midterms. So which one is it? So what do you think about your fellow, well, I guess in party, Democrat black woman saying that?
Phil, I don't let that one slide, a fellow Democrat, but we'll talk about that later. So trans people are not even 1% of the population. The Democrats will have you thinking that the transgender people are such a large segment of the population. Not even 1% of the population is trans. Something else they don't tell you, do the research all, a lot of trans people eventually revert back to the gender of which they originally identified. That's something else they don't tell you. And yet, look at how they're bending over backwards, trying to allow 6'3", 199 pounds of muscle men to compete in lightweight women's tennis. Okay? You are they're acting like their whole election is based on that. Like you said, Asian Americans are 5% of the population, actually, and they got a hate crime bill in a few days. Black Americans are the ones that they always task with saving America. What's that guy named? Jonathan
Marcel, not to interrupt you, I just did a podcast on that. There are 19.9 million Asians, and they said 6%, according to 2020 census. So that's why I said that. But yeah, continue.
They said, but they always task us with saving America. Like that guy, Jonathan Capehart, who short cakes are right, but ain't for his own people. He cakes for people like his white husband and his white husband's fellow race mates. They always say that Black Americans come out and save America. So if we're such a small segment of the population, why are we tasked with saving America, and why not white Americans who are the majority? And what do we get for saving America? First of all, let's talk stats. Let's talk facts. Stacey Abrams knows good and goddamn well the census has never counted us accurately. That's by design. The 3/5 amendment, the 3/5 compromise, okay, they've never counted us accurately. In 2010, the Urban League, the National Action Network, Al Sharpton's organization, NAACP, I'm not a fan of any of those groups, but they did research and the Census Bureau confirmed it. The Census Bureau undercounted us by 4 million people in 2010. 2020 was a pandemic, global protests. They suspended field operations early. Black rural areas like mine, and matter of fact, South Carolina is one of the states with the lowest level of census responses, are almost untouched when it comes to census field agents. Black inner city areas are almost untouched. Then Black people have the lowest response rate of the census. Black people are the most likely to move to a different state but not update their residency. Hence, 2020, according to the articles that have been out, we were undercounted twice as much, at least, than the 2010 census when they undercounted us by 4 million. Stacey Abrams knows that. How can a woman who sat there and told us that when she lost her race for governor, that it was because of misappropriation of votes and votes not being counted? And I do agree, Brian Kemp being allowed to run as the Secretary of State for governor was unfair, but she was all about how the data, every vote's not being counted. How can she sit there and say we're only 12% of the population when she knows that not every citizen gets counted? Why is it okay for her to acknowledge it for her race, but then she doesn't want to acknowledge it when people ask why aren't they doing something for us? She wants to use that as an excuse. The reason why they don't do anything for us is because we don't make them. The reason why they don't do anything specifically for us is because we give them 90 to 95% of our votes every time, each time. But there is hope. Here's what we can do. Here's the facts. One, all of us are not voting. Matter of fact, no group of America has their percentage over 50%. Over 50% of white Americans don't vote. Over 50% of black Americans don't vote. But black Americans were the only group that was rapidly increasing in voter turnout up until the Hillary Trump election. I say that to let us know it's not that all of us are giving away our vote. It's just that the ones who vote among us are giving away their votes like a bunch of fools and getting nothing in return. Now, I don't want to condemn them, though, because sometimes they're giving grits or they're giving grits, and they have to choose grits. We have to give them better options. But also, those of us who are not voting because we don't feel we have a reason to vote, or a good one at least, we need to then run and be the person that gives people a good reason for why to vote. That is what we do about it. And that's really one of the reasons why I'm running. I want to be what I feel other people should become. If we don't see a good reason to vote and we don't see anyone on the ballot that's worth our vote, they're not coming with a black agenda, they're not coming running on reparations, then we need to become the person for whom people should vote.
Well, Marcel, I seen you had a back and forth on Twitter. It was a lady, I think she was running for Congress, and she was asking you about your position on illegal immigration. I'm pretty sure you remember this lady, and she said that she liked you until that comment, and she ended up diming out her husband, saying, "Oh, well, you would deport my husband." I say, "Wow, what kind of wife are you? Like diming out your husband on Twitter for somebody to call ICE on him?" And then she ended up saying, when people were saying about being illegal, she said nobody's illegal on stolen land.
Well, first of all,
what say you to all that? What that lady was telling you?
Well, one, I think she wanted me to deport her husband, and then she wanted to make her move on me because I'm like, why are you telling me your husband's illegal? And why are you telling us you like me? Lady, I don't know you. But anyway, I think she wanted her husband to be deported because why would you out him like that? And second of all, yes, I would deport your husband. He's in the country illegally. And so that I don't want to break up your family, though, so I will tell you go with him. I will pay a one-way ticket for you two. I will do that personally. Just don't come back. Second of all, or third of all, if no one's illegal on stolen land, then that means I should be able to move into her house because technically it's not her house because she's building her house on stolen land. That means I should be able to move into getting her vehicle because technically that's not her vehicle because she's driving her vehicle on stolen land. It's stupid. And you notice how I said to her, then we don't need to be checking for passports then. Let's just open the floodgates. Let's just not check. Let's just get rid of customs at airports. Let everyone come in. I said, how about you let anyone around your child? How about you just leave your child with any person? No background checks needed. It could be a pedophile for all we know. It could be someone who has a violent background, a criminal background for all we know. We have checks and we have benchmarks and screenings for every other area of our life to get a gun, in many cases, to get a job. But you're telling me that we should not have that for people who want to come and live in our nation. And yet the nation where her ancestry is from, Chile, I looked up their laws. They have screening measures in check. And their immigration laws are quite stricter than ours. Another thing I want to say, you notice how when I brought up facts to her about how immigration hurts Black Americans, immigration correlates with a drastic increase in unemployment for Black Americans, especially Black American men who have a high school diploma or less. It correlates with a deep, deep, deep dive in wages for Black Americans. It correlates with an uptick in incarceration rates for Black Americans. It has a negative impact on the marriage rate of Black Americans. I showed her this was something that has been shown from conservative institutions to liberal institutions. And I asked her, what is your stance on reparations? What is your Black agenda? You notice how she went quiet on that, right? Then she went on her page, what some of my supporters showed me, and she said, oh, look, he's threatening my family. He's threatening my family. Y'all, Karens are not just white women. They're also Latinas, whatever ethnicity they want to be on that particular day.
Yeah, that was interesting. They want to go back and forth with you on that, but that's been the Democrat Party's mantra, though, what she's saying. So she's kind of like lockstep in what they want to promote. But this is the thing. I know a guy personally. He owned a construction company, a white guy, and he told me that his company was hiring nothing but illegal immigrants to do construction. We talking about welding, pipe fitting, fabricators. We talking about all them high-end construction jobs. They was given to illegal immigrants. So when they say that illegal immigrants come in the country and do the jobs that we don't want to do, we'll say, well, for years, I remember growing up, all those jobs were mostly black and white men doing those jobs.
Exactly.
Even building the roads and all the stuff like that, it was nothing but black and white men doing that. And now today, you don't even see that.
I have statistics right here, Phil, and this is from the Center for American Progress. And it says here, illegal immigrants. They call them undocumented. I'm calling them what they are, illegal immigrants. 38% of people who work in construction, 38% of the total workforce, 39% of people who do roofing, drywall installation, and flooring, 33% of people that do painting, 35% of people that do carpentry. If those are jobs that Americans did not want to do, then who was doing them before the illegals showed up? Huh? Like you said, it was black Americans mainly and white Americans, mainly poor white Americans and black Americans who were doing those jobs, especially black Americans. And it still happens because, like I mentioned, Tar Heel, North Carolina, Stowell, Georgia, Forest, Mississippi, Chicago, Illinois. Those are just several cities in recent years where the Immigration and Customs Enforcement actually did their job, raided up the illegal immigrants, and deported them like they should have done. Immediately the next day, it was Americans, mainly black Americans, applying for those jobs and doing those jobs. And the only thing that led to some of them quitting some of those jobs was that the people in charge had not kept up with safety regulations per OSHA. And they didn't want to pay the black Americans fair wages because they had been paying the illegal immigrants exploitative wages and having them work in dangerous circumstances. Some of the black Americans called OSHA, and they had to upgrade their facilities, and they had to pay them fair wages. It's not that Americans don't want to do those jobs. We're not going to do them for free.
Well, let me tell you something. I said a long time ago, if you want to stop, all the employment of that, all you have, but see, this is what this government don't want to do. Because if you start enforcing the laws, it's illegal to hire someone who isn't has the proper documents in this country, right?
It ain't legal
all you got to do is go to E-Verify and start jailing these business owners. Let me tell you something, Marcel. If it was me and you hiring a bunch of illegal immigrants, me and you being fed quick. But it's because them folks is the one doing it. See, they don't say nothing. They rather go raid the illegal immigrants and the business owners don't even get caught up. I say arrest all the business owners
That's
first.
right. That's right.
Put them in jail.
Phil, this is what I say, though. That's why I tell people, don't fall for the Republicans either. Don't let them think that they're against illegal immigration because, first of all, the president who actually did amnesty for illegal immigrants, the first president, was Ronald Reagan, the biggest drug dealer and one of the most notorious Republicans ever. He is the only president who signed an amnesty bill giving 3 million illegal immigrants citizenship. And at that time, the deal was that he would give them amnesty, but the border would be secured. We see how that has worked out. It hasn't. Not just that, whenever they do some type of audits on a lot of these Republicans' mansions, you find illegal immigrants working at their mansions. So they're in on it too. The only thing with the Republicans is that at least they're smart enough to know that they don't want these illegal immigrants to be able to vote. But they're all in on it. And E-Verify is not mandatory. That's something we have to understand, y'all. E-Verify was not mandatory. At the time when it was supposed to become mandatory, they made a compromise saying that a business can either use E-Verify or use some other system to verify if a person is in the country legally or not. Hell with that. I am going to make E-Verify mandatory, and I'm going to go after the people who are the bigger criminals, and those are the corporations who, instead of investing in Americans, and this time Black Americans, but even white Americans, instead of investing in Americans, they rather import cheap labor so they can pay people exploitative wages and not adhere to safety standards. Go after the employers, and the illegal immigrants will leave on their own. But I'm going to go after illegal immigrants as well if they think they're going to sit here and run scams and give people the impression by using fake social security numbers that they are citizens, because that does happen too. I used to be a car salesman. I've seen it happen.
Well, let me ask you a question here about reparations. Reparations is something that's very, very important, for Black Americans. And if you just look at the model that the American government has used for Native Americans, we already have a model in place to compensate Black Americans for slavery through that same model of giving billions of dollars a year to Black Americans. Now your Clyburn here, he put up a bill specifically for Native Americans, which we know they're the $5 Indians, they're not the real ones. And Clyburn, who never did nothing for Black people in your district, sat there and put up a bill to give them land. Clyburn. So what's your position on what Clyburn did? And also, do you think reparations could be modeled from how they done for Native Americans?
I want to give the full story to what Clyburn did. It's more disgusting than that. We know about him. Well, first of all, the Native American group, the tribe for which he did that, they're called the Catawba Native Americans. These aren't just Native Americans. These Native Americans have a particular ugly history. They were once former enslavers of Black people. And not only were they former enslavers, they were brutal former enslavers. Not only that, they also made their careers slave catching, and they were brutal slave catchers. They were so brutal that sometimes one of our unfortunate ancestors that may escape and was unfortunately captured would beg to go to the white enslavers. Before Clyburn wrote this bill in 2021 to give them more land, in 1993, when he first took office, the first thing he did was sponsor a bill to give the Catawba Native Americans special rights, privileges, recognitions, and protections. That sounds like what to you? Reparations. 1993, and the bill passed. Now, from 1993 to now, he's in a state that is very Black, in a majority Black district. He sat there and watched Gullah Geechee people. His wife was Gullah Geechee. He has sat there and watched us lose our land. All Black Americans, 15 million acres of 16 million stolen. All the trillions of dollars in wealth gone with it. Not one piece of legislation has he running for us to get land, but he does it for former enslavers. It's disgusting. And as far as do I think that model he did will work for us? Yes and no. Yes, in the sense that in spite of the fact that they keep trying to use HR 40, which, like I told his daughter, if you saw my clips on Twitter, like I told her, HR 40 is not reparations. It's simply the study of reparations. We don't need no damn study. They done sent trillions of dollars to Ukrainians. No study needed, no study done. They're not Americans. They're not even a part of NATO, so they're not even our allies. And they have gotten trillions of dollars from us, okay? They spend $60 million a day as of April 2021 on illegal immigrants in California alone. That's not statewide. $60 million just in California alone. No study needed, no study done. Only thing I will model that Clyburn has done is that he could have done for us, but he didn't. If he took his pen and he wrote legislation to get reparations for these Native Americans, he could have taken that same damn pen and wrote something for Black Americans who are descendants of American slaves. It would not be based on our race. It will be based on our lineage. He hasn't. I am going to do that. But my reparations bill is going to go further than what he's done for these Catawba Native Americans. We're going to have special recognition, rights, privileges, and protection, all right. But we're also going to have our special police force. We're also going to have the Freedmen's Bureau return. We're also going to have direct monetary payments, which I don't think the Catawba Native Americans get that. Some Native American tribes do, but I don't think they're one. So I'm going to go further than what he's done.
Well, in the words of Clyburn, why y'all effing with him? He the one that done the bill.
All right. Which is a lie, by the way. They said that too. His daughter said that too. I packed her to go play, like I said, corn muffins, collard greens, red rice, and fried fish, and put the aluminum foil over it on. I said, here you go. John Conyers is the person who originally wrote H.R. 40. And when he originally wrote it, he modeled it after the reparations that Japanese Americans had gotten in 1988. And that ain't a long time ago either. I was 4 years old, but that was over 30-something years ago. And it still hasn't gotten done. In spite of the fact that the Democrats have had the House, the Senate, and the presidency 1993 to 1997 to 2001, I believe, to 2005, 2009 to 2013. Clyburn was there all those times. They could have easily had an HR 40 studied, and we could have had our reparations by now. So what was their excuse for not doing it then? I guess what? Black people didn't matter then, but now that we're starting to wake up and demand specific policies, now they got to pretend like they were doing something for us. Why didn't you do it before? And why aren't you doing it now? So we're going to keep effing with them and all of them until we get some tangibles, like Tariq Nasheed says.
Well, let me get to my last question for you. According to the white supremacist terror attack in Buffalo to those precious 10 black people that just happened, everybody's asking for an anti-black hate crime bill, and of course Clyburn, he's not saying a word. When something happened to Asians, he would say, "Hey, we need the hate crime bill. We need it now." And when the black people, it's the thoughts and prayers and all that. Like I said, your thoughts and prayers are not worth a drop of piss to me. I mean, a drop of piss is worth more than your thoughts and prayers.
Exactly.
So, what would Representative Marcel Dixon do that Clyburn is not doing in the area of an anti-black hate crime bill?
I will be doing what I've already started doing. One, I've already talked about us being a protected class. And that includes the Freedmen's Bureau being able to respond to our needs, but that also includes us being able to have exemptions from some other legislation. So, for example, if a black person is a felon, non-violent felon, and that technically means they can't own a firearm, a freedman, a descendant of American slaves, foundational black American, whatever appellation you want to use, will be able to be a firearm owner. Of the Freedmen's Bureau will be able to provide us with firearms. Okay, they will be able to cover the charge for us. That is what can happen when you are a special protected class. They will be able to immediately arrange for us to take marksmanship classes. We always have had to protect ourselves. That has not changed now. In these so-called gun-free zones that people think will make us safe, we will be able to have guns in those areas because we have always been a group of people that have been targeted, as Buffalo, New York City shows. Another thing I will do, and this is a part of a larger plan, I am trying to incentivize us, which is a part of my reparations package, to return to our ancestral roots here in the U.S., and that's the American South.
There you go. That's what I've been saying.
Right. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah.
That's your homeland. You want to talk about being in the homeland? That's where your ancestors built from. It's right. The South, not California, not Illinois, the South.
And right now, there are some states where if we get 700,000 and 2 million more people, we can easily make them majority black. And those states are, and I'm not saying these are the only ones, but the states where we can do this the quickest are nearby you, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, of course, Maryland. where they're all in the 30% or higher, because of course the census undercounts us. I want us to come back to how we used to live. We used to live around each other. I don't know if y'all know this, but there's a group of people. They use the hashtag Secure the Tribe on Twitter. They're called I forgot what they're called. Origin Global is the name of the company they started, and they're actually doing. They're not calling them Black Wall Streets, but they're actually doing Black Wall Street initiatives. One in Tennessee and one they're going to plan here in South Carolina, because I told them you ain't going to leave South Carolina out of this. That is what we've done. We've gone to rural southern areas and we made them into our own vision. I want us to get back to that. I want us to have our own police force. We police ourselves, we protect ourselves. Another thing I will do too is what I said I'm going to do. I'm going to write. I heard that scumbag was wearing body armor, and I did research and found out that armor-piercing bullets are prohibited in the United States of America. I imagine because of police safety. Well, I mean, if we're going to allow people to have weapons that can kill multiple people in minutes, then why stop there? Why keep them safe if they wear body armor? If they are going to wear body armor to keep themselves safe and they're going to target us, we need to be able to take away that safety. I'm thinking about writing legislation to repeal the prohibition on armor-piercing bullets. Because if that scumbag did not have that, he would have been killed before he was able to kill people. Because a black man was able to shoot him. But unfortunately, he had on body armor, and it did not penetrate his body armor like we all wish it would have done. So those are just some of the things I would do. I will also make it, if you commit an anti-black hate crime, you automatically get the death penalty. We're not spending 18 years thinking about it. You die, and you die quickly, you die painfully.
Well, you know, this is what I said in my live yesterday. It would be hard to go after the guns to a point because it's enshrined in the Constitution. But bullets isn't enshrined in the Constitution. Body armor isn't enshrined in the Constitution. None of that extra peripherals that they use, none of it. So what I would, just talking about how, if I had to do something about it, if I was the president, I would make ammo so expensive, I would regulate it so much that the average person couldn't afford it. And I would move certain bullets into the class 3 category, because you got to get a class 3 license in America to get a full auto, right? Which is about $10,000, and the feds got to approve you with that class 3 license, right? They should put certain bullets in the class 3 category.
That is something I want to talk about as well. Background checks. Background checks cannot just be, okay, you never committed a crime, you never had a speeding ticket, you good, bye. Background checks have to be expanded. Background checks need to go into your social media, and I know some people may not like that, but it needs to go into your social media. Have you made terroristic, extremist threats against Black Americans? Because if we are a protected class, terroristic threats against us should automatically disqualify you from purchasing a firearm, and you should automatically have your firearms confiscated. I've had the FBI, again, come at me several times just for saying things that weren't even violent. How was this piece of scumbag, vomit stain, piss bucket able to plan a whole massacre line and nothing was done?
Well, let me ask you a question about that. You brought it up. So, why the FBI come holler at you?
Well, one time I was talking to a white guy and I said to him, you know, imagine, I forgot what happened. It wasn't Charleston. Something else had happened, and it was racially motivated, as they call it. And I said, and his thing is trying to reform racists. And they hate him, he claims. But I think he actually is an anti-Black bigot in disguise. His name is some Italian guy who talked about all the Black people he beat up, but now he's reformed. And I said to him, have you apologized to them? Have you made repair for the damage you did to them? Have you turned yourself into the authorities for a violent act? Because in some states, there is no statute of limitations. I said, if you haven't done that, you're not reformed. And I said, you know what? I said, imagine, what if I said, I want to target white guys, and I said, let me go to the nearest bowling alley. I said, imagine how disgusting that would be. It was just something hypothetical. And he called the FBI, even though this is a guy who works with Nazis, Ku Klux Klan members, skinheads, Proud Boys, Boogaloo Boys, and he makes a vow to never call the FBI on them, but he did it with me. That was one. Two, I said something to Clyburn's office, like, well, what do I have to do to get my people's needs met? I said, do I have to show up in front of your office with an AK-47, like those white guys are doing in Michigan? And all hell broke loose, and FBI came, backseat of a car, had a whole dossier with my photos on it, social media photos, and I was like, oh, damn, this is so cool. So that's what happened.
Oh yeah, brother. Yeah, you can't be saying, see, they can do that mess. Or we may see what you just said. You made that one comment and they showed up at your door. But these white supremacists be planning all kind of stuff, and they don't show up at their door.
Right. And check this out. The third time wasn't the FBI, it was the Capitol Police. I called Coon Ellison, Keith Ellison, Coon Ellison, when he was talking about something, don't go so hard on Derek Chauvin. I told him to shut the hell up. Shut the hell up. I said, if I come up there to Minneapolis or where the hell you are and shut it down. And the Capitol Police, all hell broke loose again. And the Capitol Police called me and, so there you go. But, we can just say that. Nothing happens. You got people on these websites planning all-out massacres. Nothing's done. Not only that, when we do something, I have a cousin who was wrongfully arrested. A guy unfortunately murdered a cab driver, and they arrested all the people with him under that RICO stuff, that RICO charge stuff. And they arrested him and threw him in prison. But when these white supremacists do things, why don't they use the RICO charges against them and throw all of them in prison?
Well, there's a simple answer to that. That's their brethren. Why they're not gonna throw their brethren in jail? Come on now, Marcel, you asked for way too much.
But look at Congress. What's Congress doing about it? Zero, zip, nada.
Nothing. They're not going to do nothing. This particular, they have established, no matter what side, they're not doing nothing. They're literally trying to make the country fall. I'm literally believing that now. They're literally trying to make the country fall for whatever reason they're trying to do it, but they're literally trying to make it fall. That's why, like I said, but I'm not getting into my conversation with that, but we're going to keep it on you. But, brother, let people know, how they can get to your page and how they can donate, because you're in the home stretch now.
Yes, y'all. The election is really starting next week. This could be historic. A majority whip has never in American history. Oh, no, it happened for the first time in 2012. But a majority whip has never in American history been defeated in the primary by an opponent who's ran their first race. The first time it happened in history was in 2010. This will be only the second time. This will be the first time it's ever happened by someone who's new to politics. It will be the first time it's ever happened on a reparations platform. It will be the first time it's ever happened someone running and who has been born and bred from the new black media. Do you know the shockwaves that will send to people? Clyburn is putting up billboards, something he's never done before. People who know him have told me he's actually worried about this election, which is why they say he snapped at that fish fry, because they say he's really worried about this election. But he's afraid to admit that or attack me because it will be embarrassing for him to say, well, who's this little nobody that got Clyburn doing attack commercials on him? Let's give him more reason to be afraid. Let's give him more reason, and all the Congressional Slack Caucus, reason to be afraid. Let's make them pay for selling us out, turning their backs on us, taunting us, spitting in our faces. If there was ever a time I needed y'all donations, it is now. I am going to blast my name everywhere. I already have 5 billboards. I already have knocked on over 70,000 doors. We've given out over 70,000 flyers. I've done over 20-something meet and greets. I've made over 15 public appearances, bus rides, you name it. This is the final stretch, most important stretch. If you won track, you could get to the finish line. Somebody can come and pass you right then and there. Let me be the person that passes Clyburn who thinks he has this in the bag. So please, if there's any other time you could donate, it's now. And it's at marcelforcongress.com/donate. You can donate from $2,900 to $5 minimum because that's the least amount the platform will accept. Whatever you can spare, I need it. This is the final stretch. This is the most important stretch. Let's show them that the new black media is the real black media and really is the most powerful media because that's where I came from. So thank you, Phil, for having me.
Oh, no problem, no problem. Well, like I say, I appreciate you, definitely, reaching out, and we try to support, candidates that we feel, those that maybe could get an impact. I know you had, I know we first had you on, I think 3 or so months ago when you kind of started talking about some things. I don't know if we wanted the first to had you on, but because at first, people tell me a lot about you. I saw you. And everybody say, well, why is nobody putting him on? I say, well, shoot, let him come over here. I mean, let him shoot his shot, and I'm glad to see you, since then, just kind of, been on different platforms. I see you was on Fox Soul, and, you've been just doing your thing. So, yeah, it's home stretch, and definitely, brother, we appreciate you coming by this afternoon.
Well, let me tell you, just real quick, from the time you had me on to now, I went from, like I said, just a little over $6,000 to now on my way to over $150,000 for a person with no experience, no major connections. No, I'm running on a reparations platform. So all of these sorry sellouts are, these organizations are running from me because they don't want to come off as too black. People like Nina Turner, who should have supported me, who should have thrown a weight behind me, but she didn't want to come off as being too black. That's why she was just talking about reparations, but not putting on her platform. That's why she went and supported some white lady in Philadelphia who was just saying reparations, but she skipped over people like me. You see what happened to her? They run from somebody who's authentic. The real black media has never ran from me. Y'all embrace me, and I promise when I get to Congress, I'm going to speak that into existence. I'm going to remember the people who were there for me and the ones who weren't too. So thank you.
Yeah, and I'm going to leave you with this. Be wise as a serpent with your words because you're living around the devil. Just remember that.
Yes, definitely.
All right, brother. Well, you take care of yourself. We're glad we had you on.
Glad to be here. Thank you.
All right, brother. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was our brother Marcel. I'm going to get myself back on camera. That's our brother Marcel. Listen, when people come on my platform, I let them speak. Y'all hear me talk all the time, and I don't want to interrupt our brothers and sisters when they come on. I'm just very happy for the brothers. So make sure that you in that pinned, comment in the chat. Click that. I made it easy for you. Go donate something to your brother. If it's $100, I prefer, much as you can. But hey, even if it's $10, $5, it can add up. Like I say, it's 2,100 people in the chat. If all y'all go donate $100, boy, that brother can really, do some things, right? So one thing that I know you see his commercial that pops up here, normally that is a service. But I wanted to say, look, brother, let's put your ad, on the show just so I can help promote, okay? Because if I believe in you, I do something like that. Now, don't just know everybody contact me and say, could you run mine? I'm like, talk to Keller. That just don't happen for everybody. It just, I believe in what this brother's doing. And he's been consistent. He hasn't double talked not one time. And when I see people like that, I can support that kind of person. So, but I can't vote for the brother. If I can vote for him, I'll be there lining up May 31st and early voting start. Yeah, I will be there with him voting, right? So we depending on y'all in South Carolina. If you are tired of the same thing, Clyburn is giving y'all some old greasy fried fish and what I heard that was dry. Shouldn't be giving black folks no fried fish anyway. We suffering too much heart disease. You should be doing something good for black people. Some old fish fry. And that's all it took to pacify you. Listen, you got to get involved. Voting is good if it's done strategically. And you need to strategically vote in your brother. Listen, that would upset the Democrat world if Marcel get in. Trust me, he get in, CNN and all of them going to be calling him like, how in the hell he did that? You know what I'm saying? So support our brother. Those of you throughout the world, I saw somebody in here say they was from France. I don't know, is y'all currency, euros or whatever? No, y'all got a franc, right? Donate to our brother. You can donate. Last time we had a sister come on that was running locally. People from all over the world was donating, and she said it ended up crashing the server at one time. So yeah, donate. No matter where you at, donate to your brother, Marcel. If you believe in freedom, justice, and equality, because even in other countries outside the U.S., especially the Caribbean, Africa, these politicians are no different than they are in the U.S. They don't care about the people. They do whatever the hell they want to do, right? Well, it is time for us as a people to upset that. Get those bought and paid for Negroes out. The black faces that represent white supremacy. Now, when I heard my brother talk about his visits from the FBI and the Capitol Police, and I heard what he was saying, the reason why I say it at the end, be wise as a serpent, because we got to be careful what we say to them, even quote unquote hypotheticals. Because see, that's the way they police us. But the actual white supremacists that's planning attacks, they don't do nothing to them. So that's why I sometimes say, ooh, well, let me not say certain things. That's why I don't say it, because I already know how it is with us. We are treated different here in this wicked system. But ladies and gentlemen, like I said, thank you for joining us today. We greatly appreciate that. Thank you for supporting the show, like always, for sure. And once again, go donate to our brother, Greg Marcel Dixon. It's the home stretch. Clyburn is white people's black people. Corporations support Clyburn, but the grassroots can actually defeat corporations. If you want something different, then go with your brother. If you want the same and you don't want nothing done for black people, then you already know Clyburn is going to be your answer. But you can't complain all the time talking about nothing being done for black people. You can't even complain if you're not trying to even change it. This is your chance to change it. This is the time, like you talking about being on code. Sometimes your own code is financial. And in South Carolina, your code is not only financial, but going there and voting. You need to have a mass amount of people go and vote. As if they say, where do these people come from? All black people need to go vote for this brother. You've been having Clyburn for 30 years. You ain't been getting nothing out of it. Make some changes. We all talk about the CBC, but yet them people being there 30 years and haven't done nothing for black people. It's our fault why the CBC is where it is. You know that, right? We can point at the Democrats, but it's our fault. We go right back in and vote for the same people that ain't done nothing in our neighborhoods. Neighborhoods going to hell, no jobs, crime everywhere, but here they come when it's time to get a vote. Clyburn, all he show up with is a freaking fish fry. But he won't do nothing for black people. He did something for them so-called Native Americans, and you heard with what Marcel said about them. They own slaves, and that's the people that Clyburn was advocating for, which, like he said, make it worse and despicable. So you want to vote for a guy that pushed for legislation and got it signed for a group of people that own your ancestors? This is what Clyburn is on, folks. But Marcel's saying, get him in there. So we're watching. We're paying attention to everything. We really are. And also on a side note, Herschel Walker, he won his Republican primary. Of course, Warnock, he won his. But the funny part about that, I got to start to laugh. Herschel Walker got more votes in the primary than Warnock, okay? If Herschel Walker beats Warnock in Georgia, oh my God, I'm going to laugh. I'm going to laugh, and it will serve them right if Herschel Walker get in there. Oh my, because the Democrats deserve it. They deserve it because they ain't done nothing for black people. But thank you, ladies and gentlemen, once again for joining us. Let me get out of here and try to get to this gym and see you next time.